Hello everybody, welcome to Manga Mondays, and I'm sorry to do this to you on a Monday because the title we are talking about today is absurd and disgusting. Today we are going to talk about Animan, a horror manga by Takuya Okada. Are we the predators or the prey? Oh, that sounds familiar. When an unsuspecting father and daughter stumble upon a strange gathering of humanoid animals with a taste for fine cuisine, their worst nightmare is about to begin. Here, creatures who are not quite man and not quite beast raise humans as livestock and slaughter them to put meat on the table. Faced with horrors beyond belief, can one average unfortunate victim change this brutal cycle? When roles of predator and prey are reversed, what does it truly mean to consume another living being? Snooze. What can we expect other than the, what if the roles were reversed and we were the animals? Did a vegan write this? Am I right, guys?
Vegan donut.
In all seriousness, I want you to take whatever you expect from that and shove it up your... In only 5 chapters, this thing barrels through plot twists, and I was just completely beside myself reading it like, what the fuck is going on? What the f is...
Oh my god!
If you didn't know, when I write a Manga Mondays script, and often when I'm just reading for fun, I take a lot of notes. And in my notes for Animan, I have, the protagonist is a bona fide idiot. LOL, never mind. Heel face turn at end of first chapter. End of next chapter, another twist? End of chapter 3 is insane. Dude, what the hell is going on? Where could it possibly go from here? Plot twist after plot twist, and other such observations. In fact, the mangaka may have been inspired by a certain group of very powerful enemies in a certain incredibly popular Shonen Jump weekly series that is always on hiatus that I may or may not have an entire shelf dedicated to. Man, that's just the f***ing chimera ants. But all in all, as a horror enjoyer, I found that there was some wacky shit going on in these pages. Now, before I give it too much praise, I have to admit that it is very reliant on shock value, which horror is wont to do, of course, but there is some content in Animan that just makes you go, really? So I blame myself for not expecting that when there is a content warning tag on the front and an age rating on the back. Take a look at each of those 4 letters. Please read each and every one of them if you want to read this. You've been warned. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Age ratings on manga are so inconsistent that I just basically don't look at them anymore. But I think with a series like Animan, it's necessary. Because if you think it's going to go there, it will. But to its credit, if you have the stomach, I found that Animan crafted a very upsetting, bleak, and compelling world. It's worth mentioning, all jokes aside, that while I eat meat and don't find the concept of doing so inherently wrong or inhumane, a lot of how farming is approached worldwide is rather unethical and at times extremely cruel. It's important to understand this if any genuine discussions are to be had about animal rights, whether their suffering is just a means to an end, and a lot of this stuff happens narratively in a lot of media. On the shallower end, there's the title The Promised Neverland, of course, which at the time it was being published I read and liked, but its fall off is out of the scope of this video. However, a much more literary example is Tender as the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica, a horror novel about a world in which humans are bred for meat. I've also read that novel, and while it was compelling, funnily enough, I also found it a little weak. But Animan did conjure to mind a lot of that book's philosophical content, and also its incredibly graphic and upsetting violence. Another title this manga reminded me of is the manga Jinmen, a manga about human-faced animals going on a murderous rampage. I am just full of joy and whimsy today. But I bring all of them up because, like those titles, this manga really hooked me in. It sunk its fangs in, so to speak, despite some of its faults, primarily the art. It's mediocre. No way around it. Lots of flat gray tone, it struggles with perspective, and the human character designs are unflattering. The animal characters all look fittingly realistic and creepy. But in general, this is just kind of an ugly manga, intentionally and not. I did find myself thinking it would probably be way better if the art was of higher caliber. But even in a visual medium like manga, art isn't everything. And I'm just gonna say it, I am absolutely going to read Volume 2. The moment I see it at the bookstore, it is coming home with me. I love highbrow, complex plots, yeah. But I like schlock too. Still, calling it schlock so soon, especially when it did have an interesting twist at the end of every single chapter, is probably unfair, so far. If you can handle, and I need my script for this, grotesque, mean-spirited, philosophical B-movie, misery porn, mystery-laden horror manga, I do need all of those descriptors for this thing, then I think you'll be entertained and I do recommend it. But just be wary about those content warnings. Anyway, that's really all I have to say. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would be so inclined, follow me on Instagram. Otherwise, have a lovely day. Lovelier than the characters in this manga. Goodbye.